see that many of them didn't choose the right answer. That's it.
Oh, there you go. Your exams have been already evaluated. Yes, PK, go ahead and do you want to talk about the first 4 questions?
Mm, okay. Which of the following is the correct syntax for the method with parameters? What do you think the answer is?
I put the first option.
I put the third option.
I put the first one.
I put the third.
I think
I put the third one. Public static void example int x int y.
Answer is public static void example int x int y.
It's number 3.
Yeah, number 3.
So, why is that right? Any guesses, guys?
Because it has the variable types.
So people who
Yeah.
and what else?
Well, comparing it to the other ones, it has them all in like the right format because it includes public, static, includes those two, includes the return type, name, and then it just has the variables like displayed correctly with like return type then variable name.
That's a great
Yeah.
observation. So method for a method to be qualified as a method, it must have a return type, it must have a name, and it must have parameters. All parameters should have a data type. So the reason why first is not right is because X and Y don't have a data type, right? The reason why 4 is not correct because it doesn't have a return type, and then also parameters are wrongly placed. Number 2 is not right is because its parameter are not in the right format. It's some different language, I guess. X colon int. That's not Java. All right, moving on to the next one.
What is the return type of the constructor?
Everyone, what all did you guys pick?
None of them mentioned.
I put none of them mentioned.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
So-
you could see some of picked the void. It's not right. Okay.
So why is none of them mentioned right? So the reason why it is right is one of the properties of constructor is that it doesn't have a return type. So it won't have any of return types, neither void. Though the point to be noted here is void means that the function is not returning anything. But constructors don't have anything, like there's no return type in their signature. Okay, so the next question.
Which of the following is a method having the same name as that of its class? Like, what method has the same name as that of class?
I put constructor.
I put
Constructor.
constructor.
Yeah, constructor. Constructor is the right answer. Yeah.
Yeah, so why is that right? Is this can be easily answered by the method of elimination as well. Well, first of all, constructor is the only thing which is having the same name as the class name, so that makes it right by itself. But even if you didn't know that, you could have selected that as the right answer, is because finalize is a reserve keyword in Java, so you cannot have a method named finalize. Delete is also a reserve keyword. You can't have that. Class itself, like class is also a reserve keyword. You know, when you declare a class, you say class blah. So that class is reserve keyword. You can't use them as method names or variable names or any of that. All right. Do you guys want to discuss any other question? I think the remaining 2 is very straightforward. The final one is program. The Joe regular one is supposed to have constructor chaining going on. And yeah. All right. So let's start with today's session then, if no more questions. All right. So in last session, what we learned is we talked about, we had this one, we did an experiment, or we tried to make a class. We tried to make a regular Joe class, and we realized how member variables, they can be accessed by anyone outside of the class. Even in a test, the example there is which was to calculate the volume. You were accessing volume just by doing object dot the variable name, which is not a good thing to do because people can change it, do whatever with it. You're not in control. So as a programmer, we decide to be in control of what we write. We want to give everyone a good experience of how they're using our program, and also not let anyone abuse it, especially hackers or the people who want to do shortcuts. We don't want that. We want them to follow a nice structure the way the program developer has decided to their programs to be used. So we'll build upon that. So in order to achieve some success, first we did was we introduced constructors. So you don't have to have your variables have random values. You can initialize them with some initial values, valid initial values. We did that. We saw constructor chaining, like how one constructor can call the another one. We saw default constructors. We realized that if we don't write default constructor, Java does it for us. Java creates one default constructor, and that's how new works. We learned about parameterized constructors. So once we learned that, we made all our member variables private. So now no one can access them at all. So in order for us to be able to access it, we created methods. We looked at methods which take parameters, methods that don't take parameters. We learned that a Java method must have a return type, must have a name, and a bunch of parameters if it takes parameters. So the method name and the parameters combined together, the signature should be unique, which means in one class you cannot have two methods with same name and same parameters. You know, but you can have methods with same name, different parameters, and that's called method overloading because you are adding more work to the same method. And we saw that how using those methods, people can use our classes and assign values to variables. But we realized, oh, if we allow that, people can still pass incorrect values. And in order to put a check on it, we learned about exceptions. That if users are providing wrong value, then we'll throw exception and terminate the program because that's not right. So somewhere it is going to fail anyways. So today we'll build upon it. Though this is not absolutely required for AP coursework, but anyone who is learning Java must learn about object-oriented programming. We kind of looked at it like maybe we spent 2 minutes in the very first session where we looked at why should anyone learn Java, and this was one of the reason is Java is object-oriented programming language. What it means is it treats everything as object, which that's how the humans work. We look at everything as objects. Our language, programming language, giving us the same flexibility is very powerful. So we'll quickly go over it. This will help us understand other things that AP program has to offer. And this is a building block for that. So not wasting any more time on introductions, let's jump into it. So there are 4 pillars of OOP. The 4 pillars are abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. Right. So a lot of people have opinion about OOPs having more things like overloading. There's something called as overriding. There's so many other things, but if you scrutinize all of those other OOPs concepts, you'll realize they'll fall under one of these 4 basic constructs of OOP. So these are called the 4 pillars of OOP. Right? Every object-oriented programming language is based upon these 4 concepts. If a language doesn't support all of these 4, it's not object-oriented programming language. If a language supports few of these and not all, then it is called object-based programming language. Right? and then if it doesn't support, then it's a procedural programming language, right? So let's look at what abstraction is real quick. By the term itself, abstraction means is kind of a process of showing only what is necessary. Um, and why do we want to do that? Why do we want to show only that is necessary? Is because that hides complexity. When in our example that we did last session about the person class, and we said was person born before noon, no one has to know how do we find that. So we hid complexity. We just provide functionality and let people not worry about how complex that functionality internally is. Example, humans use legs to walk. While walking, we don't care about how our brain, muscles, organs, and everything else coordinates. We just walk because this is hiding complexity. When we sit in a car and the car is running, we don't care about how everything inside of the engine is working. We just control the car with a steering wheel and a gas pedal and a brake mechanism. So this is kind of abstraction. We hide the details, make things easy to be used. Pillar 2 is encapsulation. Now, encapsulation is the idea of bringing together all the variables that are interrelated. So it can be defined as wrapping up data and member methods to one single unit, that is into a class. So why do we need this? Let's say in the person class, if we had not created a person class, um, we needed few details of Joe. Like we needed first name, last name, address, year of birth, month of birth, day of birth, and time of birth, right? So we needed 8 information for one Joe. Now, if you want to get all this information for uh, people of like every citizen of America, just imagine how many such objects will be created. Now, if the objects didn't exist, then you would have to have like these unique variables for each person, like Joe date of birth or something. So it is unmanageable. Just imagine millions and millions of variable names is very unmanageable. So what we did is everything that is related to a person, we put that into one class and we added some methods to it so that users can interact with those variables, like get date of birth or get name or set name and those things. And it also makes it easy to manage and manipulate data, which means when we have methods and we take parameters, we put a check on those parameters. So we make sure that these variables, only valid values are assigned to it. So we can put some check in it, right? So it reduces programmatical errors. We just looked at that example. So encapsulation is everything that is related should be put together into one class, and you should provide some methods to access it. As an example, if you want to manage temperature, uh, will it fit into a person class? What is temperature to do with person? There's nothing to do with person. So maybe temperature is not that should go within the person class. Temperature may go in a weather class, which talks about whether it is cloudy, what the temperature is, and so on and so forth. So this is what encapsulation is. Is you find out what information is related, and then you put them together into one class. Moving on to the next is inheritance. We all are familiar with this. Inheritance is what, simplistically speaking, is like we all inherit few characteristic traits from our parents, like both parents, which means some of us may have hair from our mom, maybe eyes from father. So something or the other we can trace back to which parent we might have got it from. So why is inheritance needed? It is needed so that we can create new classes from existing classes. We don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. We have the wheel, and now we can just make replicas of it, right? Allow one class to acquire the properties of another class. So let's say all animals can produce sound, and let's say all animals can speak. So you don't want to go and create like a dog class and say speak, and then cat go and say speak. Rather, we can create an animal class, and everything that is an animal will automatically speak. So that inheritance makes it very simple to achieve. It also increases code reusability, is because as we are creating classes from existing classes, we are not writing anything new. We are just reusing what is already written. So it makes code fast. It also reduces coding time and error, is because as we are reusing, we are not spending time writing it again. We are not spending time doing mistakes and figuring out what happened. Why is it not working? If it works once, it probably will work every time. So it reduces time for us. Next is polymorphism. Now, polymorphism is made from two Greek root words, poly and morph. Poly means many, and morph means form. So, which means something that can take many forms, right? Can you think of an example from whatever we have learned so far, where something is taking multiple forms, like a method taking multiple forms? It's an open question. Anyone, if you can connect the dots here. So polymorphism is taking many forms. Example is constructor overloading. It is one constructor, but it can do multiple things based on which one you call. We looked at add, which adds two integers. We looked at add, which adds two floats. So it's the same add method, but it does more than one thing. So that is a kind of polymorphism. A subclass can be can override behavior of parent class, which means all animals can speak, but dog speaks in a unique way, which is like woof, but a cat speaks in mew. So it's kind of they all can override the behavior from the parent class. Same example here. All right, any questions so far? I'll take it as no. So let's jump into the fun part. We look at Java language package, starting with string object. Now, we wrote a program last session. We created object, and we'll realize that Java provides a lot of such objects inbuilt, and we can just use it. We don't have to redo it every time. Just take whatever Java has to offer and build upon it. And a lot of those utility objects that or classes that Java provides, they're all put together into logical groups. They are called packages. So as an example, let's say everything that has to do with math, finding square root, finding squares, log, or any of that will logically belong to a directory called math, right? All the math related should be in one. There's no point in putting math related implementation in some random directory, right? So each directory of such kind can be seen as a package in Java. Yeah? So to give an example of how the package looks like, let me show you a program that we all will look at eventually down the line. Um, still opening. Okay, so you all can see this on in the project column, which is to the left. If Okay, so if I expand the framework directory, you'll see this directory named info.gridworld. That is a package. So what it says is everything that has to do with grid world must be inside this one folder. And what all things are in there? There are another level of subfolders: actors, grid, GU, like GUI, world. So the actual classes are in here, but they're how neatly organized. So GUI has everything that is required to draw on the screen. Uh, you know so grid is everything that is required to draw a grid, maybe, but that's what packaging is. Similar to this, in Java, such utility objects and classes, well, not objects but classes, are under Java packages. So one of them is a string, and we'll find out which package it resides in. So let's look at what string is. So what is a string? String is a continuous sequence of characters in memory. As an example, hello world is a string. Hello Java is a string. And it is a bunch of characters in a sequence, right, one after the other. Why string is a dedicated data type in Java? Java has a data type called it's called char, char, which is each individual character is one char, like H is one char, E is one char. So when Java has that, then why do you need a string which is just built upon it? So the reason why we need that is because it is one of the most widely used and versatile data types. If you look around, you'll see there's probably string everywhere, websites, text editors, your dictionary, newspaper. Those are all strings. String is heavily used in bioinformatics, like this COVID-19 scenario, right? Uh, do you know how they are working on finding a vaccine? So what they do is they look at the RNA of the virus and convert it into a string and try to find what part of string makes no sense, and that's a problem. And let's find a vaccine which fixes that problem. And if we can find such a vaccine, that will fix the disease as well. It's more complex than this, but this is a general overview of how new vaccines are found. Is kind of a string matching uh, algorithm is used there. Genetic engineering, new crops, pet breeds. Like there are so many varieties of dogs and cats in this world. They all are possible because some kind of genetic engineering is used, and that's because they string into existence. Law and order, DNA matching is done using something string type. Network intrusion detection, which is a matter of national security, is also kind of a string matched problem there. Email spam filtering. So sometimes you would see that in your email account spam folder there'll be a bunch of emails, and how would Gmail or any other provider know that those emails must go to a spam folder? Is because they go through your entire email algorithmically, and they look for certain keywords in it. If that email has keywords like hooray, or you have won a lottery, or some those kind of keywords, it'll say this is a spam, and it will just go in a spam folder. Pattern detection. So if there is some phenomena that keeps happening over and over again, and you want to see what is common among all of that, you would use something like string. Music detection and retrieval. So if you look at phone apps like Shazam and SoundHound, these apps are the one which can listen to music and it can tell you, what the name of the music is. That's pretty cool, and they kind of use strings in the back end to get all that information. So when string is used so much, then if everyone starts writing their own piece of program to manipulate sequence of characters, people will run into problems. Not everyone is thinking the same way, so it's easy to get string wrong. That's why Java, what it did is it optimized all that, made it easy for everyone to handle sequence of characters, and called it string. And now we can just use it without worrying about how internally it works. And we can't imagine life without strings because all around us is string. So let's dive into string. A string in Java are objects of the string class that hold sequence of characters. Example, if we say AP Computer Science, that is a string. Um, String is part of Java .lang package, and we'll quickly write these things in a sample program once we go through this one slide, and we'll find out how do we know this is true. Um, so we already talked about how classes and APIs. So if you all remember, a long time ago we talked about API. It's called the Application Programming Interface, which is someone else wrote the hello world, like someone else wrote the string class, and we just use it, like the way we wrote the person class and someone else might use it. So when you're using someone else's written program, then you interact with their program through APIs. And someone who don't know how string works internally, they would expect that it must follow some logical grouping, and that's the grouping which is package name in Java. Declare a string type variable. So the way string is, so there are two things, two objects, or even primitive data types like integer, float, double. Is one part is declaring, declaration of it, and the other part is initialization, right? So declaring is saying, hey, I want a reference to a memory location, and I want to call it greeting in this example here. It is of type string. So we are just saying Java program that whenever I use greeting, Java should assume that it's actually a string type. But we don't know what we are going to assign to greeting. So we are saying keep it null, have no reference. I just want to reserve this keyword right now. Right? So that's called declaring. A string can be declared in such a way: is string greeting is equal to null. And what null shows is the variable does not refer any object, that we have not assigned anything to it. It is just a declaration. String type object can be created in two ways. Using new operator, we saw that we created a person Joe as saying person Joe equal to new person, right? So a new operator can be used to create an object, or in case of string, there's another way, which is using literals, which is you can just assign a string to a greeting, and that's fine too. You don't have to call a new. In both cases, object of the string class will be created in memory, and Java does it for you. You don't have to worry about where in the memory it is. String objects are immutable. Immutability is a very powerful concept in Java. What it means is once a string object is created, it doesn't change. So once we say string greeting is equal to hello, no matter what you do to hello, you can't change it. The moment you try to change it, Java will create a new string for you, but it won't change the original. So hello will remain somewhere in the memory and eventually cleaned out, but it won't so somewhere in the memory where there's hello, it won't go and change that piece of memory. It'll just create a copy of it elsewhere and perform the operation that you request for. So while we are here, let's quickly open our IDEs and let's write few things about string. Let me close this, close project. All right, so looks like what happened is somewhere I deleted my person program, but you all have it, right? So go ahead and open that. Yeah, I can't find it. So I'll create a new project. Any questions so far?
Wait, should we create new ones or no?
You can just use what you have, the person project. Looks like I accidentally deleted mine, so I'll just create a new one. But if you all want to create a new one as well, we all can do that together. So that next, and I'll call it. Yeah, it should be there, right? I don't know why I can't find it. Desktop, AP Computer Science. Okay.
Wait, what do we name the new file again?
Come again. So you want a new file?
What do we name it?
Give me 1 second. Let me get there and let's name it something common. So what should I name my project as? Let's say AP comp Java. Okay, and I'll not delete it. Okay, so your question was, so click on source, right click on source and say Java class, and then give it a name. Let's say hello string, H uppercase and S uppercase. So once we have that in there, let's do a void. So public void static main. Oh, there it is. The UI did that for me. I can delete them. Okay, now I have a main.
I have a question. Could you just
Yes.
zoom in on your code a little bit? It's kind of hard to see.
That was intentional. Just kidding. So, okay. Is it better now?
Yeah.
More? Okay. All right. So, what we'll do is we'll try a few things out. Very simple to get familiarized with string. First thing we'll do is print out system.out.println and say hello string, right? Save that and run it. And it says hello string. Everyone getting that? So you don't have to create a new file. Last time when you had the program running, between the curly braces of main, you can just comment out everything and just write this one line.
I got the same thing.
Okay. Anyone not getting this? Or any other result? All right. So now when we have this,
Yeah.
okay.
For me, it's printing like all my other code too, because I did it in the same project.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually
So,
not printing the one from this class.
okay. So why don't Okay. So do you want to share your screen real quick?
Yeah. Okay. So if I run, just like doesn't print stuff.
I can't see that yet. Let me.
Okay.
How do I? Okay, now I can see it. Perfect. So it's printing everything but this, right? So you created a new class.
Yeah.
So well, right to the left of, well, not right to the left. So to the left of main is there's a green arrow. Click on that.
Main.
No. So where your main method is, you see
Oh.
there's public static void main. Right before
Yeah.
public to your left is a green arrow.
Yeah.
Click on that. Yeah, it
This
says
one.
run. Yeah,
There we go.
right.
So
So
now I
yeah,
just click
that's
this.
no, that won't work.
It just did it. It just worked though.
Okay, perfect then. Wow, that's great.
How would I change it back though if I wanted to run the whole thing?
So if you go, you can run only one main at a time. So there must be another main somewhere in the program. So
Yeah.
maybe it's in the class object.
There's one in class objects.
Yeah, so you go there and you can just click on the green arrow right there, and now it'll start running this main.
All
So
right.
there can be only one main in one Java program,
Okay.
right? So if
Thanks.
you have more than one, then it'll just run the default main. All right. So back to our hello string. Now, when we all have that printing as hello string, let's figure out where is this string located. So just after the double quotes end, put a period and then do a get class. So how do we do that? Is get class and then save it and run. So what this will do is it will tell us where is this string class, and it is telling us the class is located in Java lang. So there's a package called Java lang, and in there there's a class named string, right? So another way to find that is you can press your control key on Windows and command key on Mac, and then click on string, which is in the main parameter, and it'll take you to the string class where it is defined in Java. And if you all can look at my mouse cursor, you'll see this in the left column. It's called select open file, which is like a crosshair of a aiming scope. It's like circle and plus in it. You click on that and it takes you to the string class. Do you all see that? Do you all see this string?
Yeah.
And if you scroll up, you will see how under Java is a folder called lang, and that folder has a string in it, right? The string is our string is right here, and that's what it prints here is inside Java directory there's a lang directory, and inside that is string. So that's the package, right? So let's resume with our program. And so once we know that that's what the string is, let's declare a string. So let's call it as string greeting is equal to null. Now we have declared it. So what does it contain? We have not assigned a value to it. So what does system assign to it? Let's figure it out. So let's do system.out dot print line greeting, and then we do a. So we declared greeting, and now we are going to find out what is in there because we didn't assign anything. So when we run that, we realize greeting had null in it, which means it has no value essentially, which is right. So now let's assign some value to it. Let's call it greeting is equal to new string. So this is, we are creating a string object using the new operator. So let's call it as hello. And then let's print out system.out.println. What is our greeting now? Our greeting is it should be hello. So let's verify. So it does say hello, right? So initially we declared it, so it has no value yet. Then we say create a new object of type string and then put hello in it. So now we have hello. So if you realize, we have used a parameterized constructor. We are passing parameter hello to string, right? Now once we know that this is working, let's see if the other way of creating string object works. So this is hello using literal. So we are not using new in this case. We are just assigning a string to a string type object, and Java is smart enough to kind of figure that out, and we create a string object for you with the value. So this way of creating a string object is called it's like string literal. I mean, you're not calling new explicitly. So let's run it. So there it is. So what Java did first, we declared it, didn't assign anything, so the value is null. Then we said create a new object of type string and assign hello to it. So greeting did print hello, which means the object was created. Then we said now assign a literal value to string, and if the object got created, and that's why greeting is of type string and is hello using literals, right?
I have a question.
Yes.
I think earlier you said that like when a string is updated, it saves its old value somewhere in memory. How would you access that?
So, okay, that's a good question. Now, when the first statement was written, in line number 7 here, it says hello. So Java created object in memory which had hello in it. Now, when we run line number 10, at that point, uh, um, Java creates a new object in memory and puts hello using literal in it, and it deletes the first hello because it's not used anywhere in the program. So it's called garbage collection, where when an object is stopped being used, then it gets deleted. So the moment you change the value of greeting to a new value, you lose the reference to the old value. Does it answer your question? So you can't access it anymore in the memory.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because even if you, there are ways to kind of do that, but if you're doing that, then that's wrong practice, and then it's not guaranteed, because once something is marked as unused, then Java is going to delete it in the background. So if you find a mechanism to still access it, it won't be accessible for a long time, right? So okay. So we created a few string objects. So let's move on. And we just did something similar. We created a using literal, and we know that it's going to print something like that, right? So moving on to the next one is string concatenation. It means adding one or two strings together, a few data types together. So let's how do I end this? Okay, let's write this program. Damn. Let's write a program to learn some string concatenation. Now in here, let's go ahead and okay, we don't need the first line. We know our program is working fine. We can delete that. You know what? Let's
Oh,
leave
I
that.
can't
Doesn't
see your
matter.
screen.
Okay. Can't see my screen?
I don't know why, but it just randomly stopped seeing it.
Huh.
Like screen sharing because I
Okay.
can't see it either.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So great. Maybe some network glitch. So let's write a small program to learn string concatenation. Let's use some data types that we have already used in the past. So let's have a Boolean flag, and let's set it to true. Right? Let's have an integer radius. Let's say 20. We have a double. Let's say pi is equal to 3.142, right? And okay, so let's have a string. Let's call it subject is equal to world, right? And then let's concatenate. Let's put things together and see how that works. So string st. So what happens when we concatenate two strings? Let's call it str concat is equal to so two strings we have. One is greeting, another is subject. So we do greeting plus subject, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to add so these four data types that we have declared, flag, radius, pi, and subject. We're going to add that to end of a string and see how the resultant string comes out to be. So first thing we did is we added two strings together. Now second thing we'll do is we'll add a boolean. So we'll do string bool concat is equal to state of flag is flag. We expect true to be printed. Now that's how we concatenate a boolean to a string. Now we look at how we concatenate an integer to a string. Is any guesses? Yeah. Radius of radius is equal to something. Radius of circle, let's say. Circle is equal to, just let's follow same convention, plus radius string. Let's add a double concat is equal to value of pi right? And then now let's find the area. We have, when life gives you radius and value of pi, what you do is you find the area of the circle. And like so, we find area is equal to, and now remember here the type of area is string type. So what is the area of a circle? Area of circle is pi into radius square, right? So into radius. That should give us the area. Are you all with me so far?
The radius needs to be multiplied by each other first. Right?
Yes.
Because I think it could be wrong. Because if you do pi times radius, then times radius, that might be a wrong answer. Or does it automatically do it because it goes from right to left?
That's a good question. In fact, it will not give the wrong result. Well, it's a trick here. So the reason why it will give us right result in this case is because our pi is just 3 decimal places. But if this was like a very long fraction, then it's very tricky actually. So as this is multiplication, it will what it'll do is it'll multiply pi into radius, and then whatever the result is, it'll multiply that with radius. So we're going to get the same result. The only thing is we may have some change in the floating point value. So if this would have been, if value of pi would have been like some huge number, then if you multiply that with radius, then it will truncate some result, and which means you introduced an error. But in this case, it is going to give right result. Let's look at string concat, and there's a catch to this. So we'll call it concat catch, and we'll say the catch is 12. Let's add 12, 3, and 5 together and see what the catch is in that. Right, so everyone good so far? So now we have created so many strings. Let's see what those values are. Like what values do they hold? So we'll say system.out.println, and we'll just say first thing, what is the result of concatenating two strings together. We can copy this so that we don't have to write it again and again. Paste it. The second thing that we should print is how does boolean concatenate with string. Third thing it should print is how integer concatenates with string. Okay. All right. So next thing, let's look at how double is concatenated. And after that is, let's see what the area is. And finally, let's see what the catch is. Any guesses on what the catch is going to be? All right. So once we have this, let's all go ahead and run it. Anyone getting any different result than this?
No, I got the same thing.
All right. So, all right. Anyone need more time?
I got the same thing.
Okay, perfect. So then let's analyze our result. So we
Oh,
all,
that's why it's called catch, cause like didn't add it correctly.
yeah,
Just stringed it together.
exactly right. So we all got similar result. So what happened there? Any guesses?
It's
Well,
because we didn't
oh yeah, you can
specify
answer.
them as. Sorry, yeah, it's because we didn't specify them as integers, right? Because we specified it as a string earlier, so we would automatically count like the numbers as letters and then just put them together.
Any more guesses? That's a good guess.
It added the numbers to the string instead of like adding it together first.
Come again?
I said it added the numbers to the string instead of adding the numbers before.
Yes. So why did it do that?
It did that because we didn't add parentheses between the plus and the numbers.
Agree. So why adding parentheses changes the whole thing?
because you basically kind of like
So you're right. You're right about all of that. So the reason why the catch is that the way it is because there's a plus sign, plus operator, right? So that operator has a precedence. So it is going to first evaluate left, and on the left is a string, and on the right is a number. So it's going to say, oh, I'm going to add a number to a string, and make it it'll so that will become a string, right? And then you look at 3 and it'll do the same thing. So it as it starts from the left and goes towards right, on the left is string, that's why it makes everything string. So putting a parentheses makes a change is because now when it goes to left and finds a string, on the right it sees a parenthesis, so it has to first solve the parentheses, and to do that it will just add all these numbers together, and whatever the result is, it will make it into a string and then concatenate. So right above that is area of a circle, right? So in there what happens is it looks like, okay, there's onto the left is a string, onto the right is parentheses, so let me first solve it. So it solves it, and then whatever result it is, it concatenates to the string. Make sense?
does to me.
So any question? So as an example, let's look at line number 16 on the slide here.
Oh,
It says,
yeah, I just have a quick question. Sorry to
yes,
interrupt. Yeah, so you said that like if you don't add the parentheses, it goes in order, so it just all concatenates together, right?
yes. So
Uh,
essentially what, okay, go ahead, complete your question.
If you did like on the one that we did up above, area of the circle, what would happen if you got rid of like the parentheses there? Would it just print it out as like 3.141 times 20 times
Yeah,
20?
it will actually do that. If you remove the parentheses, that's exactly what it is going to do.
Oh.
Is it's going to print.
Oh, I just did it and it printed the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, because there's a multiplication sign here. So when it tries to
Oh
go and
yeah,
solve
so it does
this,
that
then
first.
yeah. So essentially, as an experiment, okay, let's put it back. We don't need it. We now know that parenthesis is not required. So the reason I put that there, so that we all can get a hint for the next line. But let's do one thing. Let's. Why is it not letting me cut? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, right, and then I'll add it before the string. Let's see what output we get here. We get 20, right?
Yep.
So now what Java did is Java saw the plus sign, this plus sign, and it said, okay, there's 12. And then to that, I need to add all of this. So when it came to do that, it saw 3 and it added both of them. So that makes it 15. So that this whole equation becomes 15 plus 5. Then it adds 15 plus 5 together, 20, 20 plus a string. So then it makes whole thing into a string as well. But looking at what we were doing earlier, which is we were doing that. So this means the catch is this, and then it's going to take 12 and add 12 to it. So essentially, this becomes a string, and 3 plus 5. So that's how Java sees it. Then it again goes next. It looks at the second plus sign here and says, oh, this is a string and this is a number. So let me concatenate number to a string and make it into a string. So it's going to make that as 1, 2, 3, 5, right? And then again, it sees a plus. First, it'll go and evaluate the left side. So it's a string. And then the right side is a number. So a string plus number is a string. So it prints that eventually, right? So it'll print it as 1, 2, 3, 5. That's what we see. Just because of the precedence, the order in which things get executed is important. So that's why these things are important. Very silly, but they're important is because it's easy to miss. You miss one parenthesis here, and your answer is completely wrong, and you'll not even realize because it's so non-intuitive, right? Uh, but now we'll have the right answer. We'll have the catch is 20. So these little things count. They go a long way. All right, so let's quickly cover some more ground. So we saw that the catch we figured out. So now we see this next time. We exactly know what's happening. There's a precedence playing here. All right, very interesting topic, escape sequence. Now, sometimes you want to print something. So in here we see that okay, there's a double quote, right? A string is between double quotes, right? Now, what if you want to print a double quote? How would you do that? Let's say we want to print on the screen just that double quotes. How would we do that? Now, if we run this program, even though all of this world and all of these other strings are in double quotes, in the output we don't see any of that. There's no quotation mark, right? You don't see that. So so there are a few things which which has special meaning. As an example, the double quote has a special meaning. It tells Java that between double quotes is string, which means between these two double quotes on line number 19, whatever is written is a string. Now, if a double quote ends right there, it will tell Java that okay, between these two double quotes, whatever is the string, but there's nothing. So there's an empty string. So what Java does is it looks when it looks at one double quotes, from there it starts it considering everything as a string till it finds the next double quotes, right? So now let's say if you want to print um, let's say if you want to print mm, let's print something. Okay, let's call a string str quote is equal to, let's go with some famous Java quotations here. First, solve the problem, then write the code. Very simple. It's by John Johnson. Now let's print our code. Line. Yeah. So when we run the program, we see our code being printed here, which is first solve the problem, then write the code, but it doesn't have quotations in it. So to make it better, let's put the name of the person who said this, John Johnson. Okay, so now let's run this, and what we wanted is here this thing in double quotes, as we see it everywhere, but we didn't get that. So how do we do that? The moment we put a double quote there, Java has a problem. It says, oh, your string starts here, it ends there, and there's nothing in it, and then I don't know what is after that. So it won't let you do that. So for telling Java that hey, this is not end of the string, this is a quotation mark, you put a what happened? Okay, we put a forward slash and a or is a backward slash, a forward slash, and a double quotation mark. So now this will tell Java that, hey, this is not end of string, it is a quotation mark inside of a string. Now we want another quotation mark here. We do that, save it, and run it. And voila, there it is. We have our string in quotation marks, right? So that's how we add quotation marks. So these forward slashes are called escape sequences. They assign a more meaning to things in the string, right? Let's try out a few more things with what all it can do, right? So let's say you want to print, let's say, let me pull a notepad out, that way let's say you want to print out something like this, first name, first line, second line, and third line. So one way to do this is you keep calling string like system.out.println 3 times, and first time you put first line, second line, third line in it, and that's how you can print it out. But can we do something better now that we know there's something called as escape sequence? Let's try it out. We'll call it str new line is equal to first line, right, and then second line, and then third line. In fact, okay, system.out.println str new line. Let's run it. Well, it printed all of that in one line. That's what was expected because we didn't do anything special. So now we want to tell Java that print after first line, print everything in the second line, and after second line, print everything in third line. So /n is indication of a new line. So it tells Java that everything after /n goes to a new line. So it adds a special meaning to n. Right? If you remove the forward slash, it'll just be like some typo essentially. So let's run this. Now we see it as first line, second line, third line. That's what we wanted. Now let's say we want to add a tab. So
I had a question.
yes.
I have a question. So if you wanted to do like the /n, could you do that with the variables that we assigned earlier too? Like you could put system.out.println, and then the first one would be like double concat, and then you would do /n, and then area. Could you do something like that, or does it have to be only in like text?
No, you can do that. But if you put it here, let's say, then yeah, you can do that. If you run this, you'll see that state of flag is printed as one line, but your result is in the second line. If that's what you want
No.
to
I
do,
meant
then
like, so how you specified that. I think string new was string. Where is it? I think it's lower. String new. Yeah, string new line. So you
Mhm.
put that. Could you do it instead? You could put one like in concat, and then the next one would be double concat, and the next one would be area.
Yeah. So let's do that. In fact, we can do string new line is equal to you're saying str concat, right?
Yeah.
Plus. So okay, now I get your ask. So what I'll do is let's leave it here. So let's do radius and area and all that, right? Maybe let's do radius. Is it just radius? Oh well, it's int concat. Okay, never mind. Int concat. So that's why the variable name should be intuitive. Then it is double concat, and then we have the area, right?
Yeah.
Okay, area, is that right? Yes, area is right. So now when we print this, what do you expect will happen? Um, let's run this. So radius of circle is 20, value of pi is 3 point blah, and then area is blah, right? So it printed all of that in one line. Now we want to print all of this in individual lines. So what we do is we say after printing radius, put a new line. In the new line, print the pi value of pi, and after that, put a new line, and then print the area. Right. So we
Yeah.
want
Okay.
each one of them in new line. That's how we'll do. Let's see. So now it did print all three in new line.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we achieved the same outcome using the new line escape sequence, escape character, as we achieved using three print statements. You know. So when would we need something like this? We would need when we have a lot of things to combine together programmatically. So we would like to programmatically add a new line rather than you can't keep printing line every time. It's not pretty. The next is so we looked at new line. Now let's look at how to add space. Right. So I'll say string str space is equal to, let's take this example here, or maybe you know what, let's just write it out, this string, and then we want to add space to it. So we, between double quotes, we just leave one space, right? Is and then the next thing is let's leave another space here, and then width. One more way of doing that is in your string you can have space, and then if that's the case, then we do spaces it, and then system.out.println str space. Let's run this. So we'll see that at the bottom it says this string is with spaces. So you can add space by adding just one space between double quotes to your string. That's how you can do that. Now we saw new line, we saw space. Let's quickly look at tab. So we'll not create a variable because we know how to create one. We'll just print it out. So how to print tab is we do /t apart. Let's run that. So we'll see this is tab apart. So there's one tab equivalent distance between the two words, right? So we did that. Now let's say, so what we, first thing we started with was the double quote has a meaning. It signifies beginning and end of a string in Java. That's why when we want to add a double quote to our Java string, we have to escape it with the escape character, right? Else Java gets confused. It won't. So what I mean here is, if we don't have that, then Java is like, oh, this is not right. But what we want to do is we are trying to add a quote. So that's why we escape it with a /. We escape n with / is a new line. T with / is a tab. Now my question is, what should we escape the / with? What I mean by that is, if / is for escaping, adding a separate meaning, but if I want to print something like this, how many do we need to print 3? If we need to print the / in our result, how do we do that in our output? So the question, you all got the question, right? So the thing is, when / gives a meaning to character after it, but I want to print / in my string, how can I do that? So let's learn that real quick. Come again?
No, I don't know. I just thought maybe instead of the double quotes, you could have the single quotes. I mean, just the apostrophe.
No, that's not right. In fact, you reminded me of one more idea that we should try. We should do string str. I'll say escape. One way to do that is we'll write our string. How many we can't do that, so this idea won't work. Anyways, we'll come back to it. What I was trying to do, we'll come back to it. So one way to do, how would you do that in Java is you'll do line, and then we know that that has a special meaning. So now the moment you put that forward slash, it Java thinks next character is a special character. So you put one more to tell Java that that escape my forward slash. Now I want to print forward slash. So this forward slash has a meaning now if you escape it with. So if you want to print a forward slash, that's how you would do is put
But if
two
you want
of
to
them.
put 2 forward slashes in a row.
So in that case, the moment you put 3, it's going to be like, oh, okay, that's not what I wanted. So you make 4. So you always escape every forward slash you want to print, you escape it with a forward slash. So if you want to print 3 forward slashes, we'll have 6 of them. Right?
Okay, so you always just like add 2 to it for how many you want to print.
Yeah. Because every forward slash escapes only the next character to it. So if there's any other character after that, then it won't escape it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it escapes only one character. So if there's one after that, it will be like, oh, I don't get it. So you need to like every character that you need to escape, you have to use a forward slash so many times. Right, let's save it. Let's run it. All right, how many do you need to print? 3. That we saw that we need 6. All right, so I hope you all got the same result. Any questions? So I think this brings us to the end of our today's session. I'll stay back for some questions if you all have. Looks like we are golden so far. So
Harris joined a little bit, and when did he leave? Anybody? Okay.
All right, I'm gonna go. Thank you.
all right, thanks everyone.
Bye.
I'll have a good rest of your week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.